What's up, everybody, and welcome into the Liquid Trucking Podcast. I'm your host, Marcus. Thank you so much for being here today. Episode, 66 here? Let me check that just to make sure I'm not going to have Mike edit out a big mistake. It is indeed episode 66 of the Liquid Trucking Podcast. Today's episode is a fun one, but first, homework. As always, we got to tell you about the website. You got to go check it out. You guys are loving it, man. Can I tell you a little stat here that might blow your minds? 80% of the clicks that we get, 80% of the downloads of this very podcast that you are listening to right now come from web browsers. I have been a podcaster going back probably 3 years before I ever got the job that I'm currently doing today. And I will tell you right now that every metric in every way, shape, or form that I've ever seen in podcasting has said that the most downloads are going to come from things like Spotify or Apple Music or YouTube, these places. You drivers are proving us wrong, and I love it because we have built you a phenomenal website to take advantage of where you can get all things Liquid Trucking Podcast. And there's a reason this probably sounds like an advertisement every single show. We're not making a dime off this thing. It's just a really good place for you to be. And I think if you're currently getting this podcast on Spotify or any of the other apps that you use, fantastic. The whole point is to make this thing as readily available for you, the driver, as it needs to be. And I love that we've got a ton of drivers interacting with the website all the time. So thank you. Head on over to liquidtrucking.com and click the banner at the top of the page that says check out our new podcast. It's got a picture of me. It's very easy to find. I stick out like a sore thumb. As many people have told me, the Teenage Hotline included, I've got a face for radio. So all that said and done, the homework's out of the way. What are we getting into for this episode? Well, it's been a while now that we've actually been toying with this idea. We wanted to introduce kind of a debate series on the podcast, something where we could choose topics, bring drivers on, have them debate the topics live on the air, and it sounds on the surface like a fantastic idea. It's one of those things that's like, yeah, why wouldn't we do that? Opinions are what make us nuanced as creatures, all right? We all have different ones, and yes, sometimes they're like other parts of our anatomy where we all have different ones and nobody wants to hear about them, especially during an election year. But I thought, and Jason thought, and Nick thought as we were working through this, there's plenty of hot topic trucking debates that we can have during an election year or shortly thereafter a new election where we don't talk politics at all. We're not debating about the finer things in the political sphere because that tends to get people really upset with one another. We wanted to have a conversation that, maybe two people have different thoughts on this one topic and we'll have them share their thoughts. I've already done the interview. As I record this intro, I've already done this interview with the gentleman that we are welcoming to the show today, and I will say this wasn't as much of a debate as it was a discussion. But as you listen through it, I want you to know I'm okay with that. I am a little bit of an instigator, okay? If I see that there's maybe the tee up for a good debate, I always want to have the conversation. I don't want to argue, but I will definitely bring my ideas to the table and present you with them to see if you can just completely tear them down and call me an idiot. I love it. I love the art of conversation. I love the art of debate. It's all things that I think really marry up well with my career of choice here. It's not always the case with people, but today we were able to find four guys that are pretty well acquainted. And as you'll hear in the interview, they don't have any problem flicking each other a little bit of shit, and me right there with them. So this was a great opportunity for us to just kick the tires on this whole debate series and see how it really ended up. Like I said, not a debate per se, but a really good discussion with some nuance about old trucks versus new trucks. And I'm really excited to play this for you. But first, I got a little backing music for this because it seemed very official to me. Like I wanted to dress this turd up that I'm about to present. It's not a turd at all. I'm really excited about this segment, and I wanted to come up and look up some famous quotes about debate. okay? Because there's always, be it politicians, thought leaders, historical figures, they always have these good quotes about the things that I want to talk about. And so I'm looking up right now, I'm on brainyquote.com, and I've got a few of these centered around debate here. I really like this one from Hubert H. Humphrey. Freedom is hammered out on the anvil of discussion, dissent, and debate. 3 Ds right there, and really important ones. For our country to be the country that it is, we need to have different opinions. We need to debate them. We need to flush them out and see maybe somebody's right, maybe somebody's wrong. Maybe everybody's a little bit right and a little bit wrong. That's the fun about it, all right? Getting to figure that out. How about this one from Colin Powell? Great leaders are almost always great simplifiers who can cut through the argument, debate, and doubt to offer a solution everybody can understand. Well, Colin, we're not going to do that today. This is not really going to be about cutting through the debate as much as it's going to be about having it. And I'm excited about that because, once again, I think it's a very pertinent thing. This one, those who cannot understand how to put their thoughts on ice should not enter into the heat of debate. That is by Friedrich Nietzsche. Nietzsche. That is a lot of consonants and not very many vowels. I'm going to go with Nietzsche, but my mouth doesn't actually make the noise that I need to pronounce that gentleman's name correctly. Fantastic quote. Sorry for butchering the name. And then, one more from Margaret Heffernan. For good ideas and true innovation, you need human interaction, conflict, argument, and debate. Well said there by Margaret Heffernan. Have no idea who that woman is, but really brainy stuff there from brainyquote.com, and I appreciate her input to our little conversation here. So there you have it. We are going to have sort of a debate today about old trucks versus new trucks. Now, something kind of fun about this whole thing is this was a driver-suggested topic. We didn't really put it out there that we were thinking about doing a debate series, but I did send you guys all a text a little while back saying, hey, just a reminder, we're always looking for topics. We got these Drive for Gold points burning a hole in our pocket. Might as well give them to you guys for some good suggestions. First of all, I would like to thank you all, everybody that took part. We had a ton of suggestions pour in shortly after that message went out. I got to be honest with you guys. It makes me so happy. Just fills my heart up to see that you want to participate like that. You want to offer some things. There's some things that you want to hear about. Maybe you want to talk about. Great. Send them in. podcast@liquidtrucking.com. Shoot me a text message or reply to any of the group text messages that I send all of you drivers at the same time. We appreciate it. And this topic actually came from one of the drivers that's going to join us in our conversation about old trucks versus new trucks. And I was able to stack up 4 of them for this interview. So it's a little bit more of a round table than it is a real, true, structured debate. But I'm fully okay with that because we had a great conversation and we got to see peek behind the curtain a little bit about why some of you guys just can't let go of the old long-nosed Pete's. Why you like to feel that gear shift in your hand and you like to make it go through all 18 of the gears on your Accord, not listening to the automatic. However, we're also going to find out why some of you are pretty into these creature comforts, all right? I don't think you can argue with me when I say, have you seen some of the sleeper berths in some of these newer trucks? They are nicer than certain apartments that I had when I was in college, okay? Maybe not quite as roomy, but I'll tell you, they're not much smaller. And the innovations and the tech that they're bringing into these things to bring you drivers a level of quality of life on the road that you can accept and you can be comfortable with and do a great job while utilizing, it's all pretty cool, man. And I got to say, like TVs alone, we'll talk about that a little bit, but hey, you get a lot better TV in one of these things now that they've made them as thin as a piece of paper. So lots to talk about. The conversation runs for about 40 minutes, so I'm excited about it. But I've said that, 17 times already. Before we get to the conversation, I do want to tease the final segment of the show a little bit. If you are a fan of March Madness, and when I say March Madness, I don't just mean it's March and some people are running around in the streets pulling their hair out and screaming. March Madness, I'm talking about the NCAA men's basketball tournament, the March Madness tournament. We're going to work through it. We're going to roll out some things that have to do with said basketball tournament at the end of the program. So stay tuned after our interview with the guys, some of the guys from the Teenage Hotline about old trucks versus new. If you're interested in March Madness, we're going to have some really cool info for you at the end of the show. So stick around and enjoy our debate on old versus new trucks.
Welcome to the gold standard of podcasts for the gold standard of drivers. This is the Liquid Trucking Podcast with your host, Marcus Bridges.
All right, welcome back into the Liquid Trucking Podcast. I just had a kind of a feeling like a grade school teacher would get on field trip day, because I've got 4 liquid drivers on the line right now. They're all very well acquainted and friends, and they talk all the time. And, I could just hear, and almost not hear, but feel the excitement bubbling in the call. Very excited to have these guys all on with me yet again. I guess we could kind of call this sort of a truncated version of the Teenage Hotline. Please welcome to the show Liquid drivers Matt Cleach, Wendell Yoder, John Fry, and Bert Morris. Fellas, y'all get one big introduction today. How we doing out there?
Awesome. Doing great.
Yeah, speak for yourselves.
You know I'm going to ask a question. What happened today? Did you stub your toe? The truck break down? What's going on out there?
You want the really exciting story of the week?
I'd love it.
So I had a farmer drop a rifle on my foot and then pull me on the ground when he fell over.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. He's over tagging cows and he tripped over the fence and dropped the butt of his rifle on my foot and then pulled me down. I said, dude, I like it, but this is a bit much.
Well,
and then today was just we had somebody buy the wrong hydraulic fittings for our trailers and they got put on, and I thought they were all gone, but apparently I found another one. So
okay, all right,
or John had to drive over and save me, and yeah.
Right, that delayed the interview just a little bit, but everything worked out okay, it sounds like. You got unloaded, everything was good?
I survived.
Okay.
I'm here.
Okay, good. Well, hopefully this will be the most exciting part of your day, fellas. I've got you all here because we've been trying to figure out a way to introduce kind of like a debate series here on the podcast. And the problem with debate is when people hear the word debate, they automatically think, oh, I'm going to war, and they start to get a little bit of a sports mentality, right? They pick their team, they put on their colors, and they think they're going into a fight. We really didn't want to do that, especially not during an election year. So we were kind of hoping to find topics and categories to debate and discuss and just kind of chew on that weren't political by nature or anything like that, just kind of hotly debated trucking topics. And just the other day, I sent out a message to you guys just reminding you that you could send me topic suggestions, and my boy Matt Cleach came through with this one. I've got all 4 of you guys here today to have a roundtable discussion / debate about old trucks versus new trucks, the tried and true versus the cutting edge of technology, the Peterbilt that everybody thinks of when they think of a truck, sitting right next to a brand new Volvo with all the bells and whistles. I want to hear everybody's thoughts today. And just to kind of start the conversation off, I'm going to give you a four-wheelers perspective. I know that by virtue of your job, you guys are all four-wheelers and truckers, but I just want to get this out there right now because I was a big, big fan of American muscle, all right? I loved old Chevys, old Fords. I'm not much of a Mopar guy, to be honest with you, but I do, the Challenger, the Charger. There's some great vehicles in that vintage as well. I had a 1972 Chevy that was fully restored growing up that I bought from a guy that rebuilt vehicles and drove it around until it blew up. It was my favorite vehicle, and I miss it more than certain dead relatives. I'll tell you that right now.
Wow.
But when I got into my very first, updated vehicle, I say, well, my Silverado's a 2014, and I can pause live radio in the damn thing. I'll never give it up, you guys. I think while I still love to look at the old stuff, I would still love to watch somebody restore an old vehicle. As far as four-wheelers are concerned, I think I might have actually been turned over to the dark side of the new and shiny and cutting-edge technology. I just like my creature comforts, and I know that creature comforts are very important to truck drivers. So let's start the conversation there. Matt, I want to start with you because you were the guy that brought this idea up. You've got a lot of experience. What are your thoughts?
I got to be honest with you. I'm old school. I like a big kitty cat. I want an 18-speed. You know, they got so many different kinds of trucks out here. Fleet trucks. Then they got the owner-operators. Then you got big trucks and large cars. I'll take a large car any day of the week over new equipment. That's just who I am. I mean, the truck is a tool nowadays. It's a mandated tool. It's a tool that some white collar guy in Daimler Chrysler decided to put it together with all the bells and whistles. Which, by the way, when a new truck today has bells and whistles, that's your lane departure. That's your somebody's in front of you, better slow down. That's your cruise control that ain't cruise control anymore. So I mean, I'll go back to easy driving, old school for me by far.
So are you saying when you say that, because I know what you're talking about with the cruise control, because now it's all adaptive, right? So it's going to adjust the speed.
Adaptive cruise, I hate it.
Yeah, it adjusts the speed based on who you're following. And so, on long road trips, we've all kind of just focused on the road, and you're not paying attention to the speedometer every single second, and that cruise control can slow you all the way down, and all of a sudden you're doing 50 and you didn't even know it. I get that. That's
right.
A headache. But would you take a truck right now to drive for the rest of your career, Matt, without regular cruise control? Like, you got to have your foot on the gas the entire trip. Would you still drive that?
I don't know if I'd go that far. I don't know if I could maintain my speed with just my foot.
That is
being honest with you,
Well, that's a funny part of it.
One of those things is nice. I remember driving a truck one time where it had the throttle, adjust the throttle up and down, and I could pull that up and adjust the speed that way, and it would maintain it. What they call that, Yoder? Down there, they use
hand throttle.
Hand throttle down by the seat. You could throttle the truck up and go down the road that way. I've done that before, but
the only thing with that, using that for a cruise, is when you hit your brakes, you still got power to it.
Okay.
You had to make sure you shoved it in before you tried to stop.
Yep.
Not as idiot-proof as your conventional cruise control is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, right. No.
Okay.
Most of your new drivers today would definitely put that in the den.
Yeah. Or just burn the engine up while power braking it, nice burnout in an 18-wheeler. We always love those. Okay, Matt, well, you brought up an interesting point there. You don't know if you could even maintain speed with your foot, and that's part of the evolution away from older trucks, right? Whether you like it or not, those little adjustments that you actually do like about the trucks, you start to adapt to them, and all of a sudden, if we put you in one and said you got an 8-hour drive, no cruise, keep it at 65, we might find your ass pulled over on the side of the road with cherries and berries flickering behind you.
Good. Very possible. Yeah, that's a possibility.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, so between you guys, Bert, Yoder, and Johnny South Dakota, which one of you would like to kind of take up arms here and defend the newer trucks? Because, Matt didn't really say anything bad about the newer trucks other than the adaptive cruise control sucks, and he doesn't like the collision detection, probably because it annoys him more than anything. Who wants to battle for the newer trucks? Are there any of you three that are really, hate old trucks and really love the new ones?
It's going to have to be Yoder.
It's going to have to be Yoder?
I got nothing to say about new trucks.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Well, then here, Yoder, let's add some ammo to your pocket. I'm going to let Bert and Johnny talk about why they don't like new trucks first, and then you'll have a list of a ton of things that you can go down and kind of pick and choose if you do even want to defend this. You don't have to defend new trucks if you don't want to, but let's keep you till the end just in case you decide to, okay?
Okay.
All right. So Bert, he didn't sound very sure about that at all, but I appreciate you, Yoder. I really do. Bert,
We'll try.
you don't have anything good to say about the new trucks, so let's hear it. Lay it on me.
The only thing I like is the radar thing. Like, I can pick up a car in fog and stuff with that. I can, I'll know it's there if it's going slow. I do like that. I'll give them that. I don't like an automatic. I mean, I've gotten used to it, but I don't. I like the classic trucks, and like Matt said, I suppose the cruise control is good because I've got intermittent cruise right now. My cruise don't want to work when it gets cold, and right now I'm really happy it's on because I've had a hard day. So, I mean, I'll give this truck that.
Okay.
They're nice trucks, creature comforts and all that, but no, I like the old school trucks.
What about the appointments in them? Like when we're talking about your sleeper berth and comfort and everything like that, are the older trucks, can they stand up to some of these newer ones? Because I'll be honest with you, I see the videos, I look at the walkthroughs. A lot of these sleeper berths are nicer than any house that I've ever lived in. I mean, it's amazing how nice they're getting, and they get bigger and they get taller and they add more amenities. Is that something that you would kind of like to see them blend? Like you want the old school mechanics, 18 gears, a solid cruise control, but then that really like luxury sleeper in the back? Or does that really matter to you that much? What are your thoughts there?
I'll take the creature comforts in the sleeper that I get to use for an hour a day.
Fair point. Fair point. Okay, point made. I got it.
This week I've gotten way too much time back there hanging out.
Yeah, like we talked about earlier.
Yep, I've spent way too long at shippers and receivers this week. But yeah, I love the TV and stuff in here. I mean, I watch short stuff because, we don't have a lot of time at night. Got to get our sleep.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
And the old trucks, I know you had to crawl through a hole in the freaking wall to get to the sleeper. Kind of, weird. Trying to be open-minded.
Okay, I appreciate it, and that's what this is all about. I looked up, I read a couple of quotes off the top of the show about debate by, I guess, famous people. I don't know who these people are, but one of those was a really good one, and it says, those who cannot understand how to put their thoughts on ice should not enter into the heat of debate. That was Friedrich Nietzsche. I don't know, there's like 18 consonants. Nietzsche. I'm glad you knew that, because that was... Wow, that broke my brain seeing that many consonants in a row. But I like what you said there, Bert. It's like, hey, listen, I have an opinion, but I'm trying to keep an open mind here. Some of the stuff that these new trucks offer is just unbeatable when you really think about it. Because listen, technology, while it also serves to frustrate us endlessly, it still does help make it better. Like you said, TV. I think about the old days when a small TV weighed 50 pounds and was the size of the largest cinder block you could buy at Home Depot. We've come a long way from that, and you guys can get huge TVs in your trucks now.
I can remember back, I had my Freightliner. I had a 13-inch color TV VCR combo, and it was a 12-volt TV.
13 whole inches.
Yeah.
Yep.
I was large and in charge, man. But that's how we watch TV,
Yep.
I mean, back then, that's what it was.
Guess
we
what?
have come a tremendous what, Bert?
My cruise is out.
I mean, so yeah, we've come. There is some technology about this equipment that is good. The creature comforts, you get used to them. I would have to say, and I don't know if the other guys agree, but as far as equipment goes, we're pretty fortunate that our company does put as much emphasis on the equipment that they do for us.
Right. Yeah. And it's a priority. We've talked to, leadership, company leadership about that here on the show, and you can definitely tell it's a priority. They're always talking about it. You can tell by how good the guys in the shop are that the equipment's a real priority. The shop does such a great job that we can barely get them on the show because they're so busy, but you guys are always happy. I talk to so many drivers, and it's like, yeah, the equipment's working. By virtue of my work with some other trucking fleets in the past, I can tell you it is not like that for everybody. So, hats off to Liquid for having that mindset. Johnny, I want to go to you here. You've been kind of quiet. What are your thoughts on new versus old trucks? Sounds like you're kind of an old truck guy as well.
I grew up around a lot of older trucks. My biggest thing is with all the electronics in there, like the gas pedal. You don't have near the throttle response as you do with a mechanical one.
Okay. I didn't even think about that. It's a really good point, though. The pedals, they're all smoother and everything like that, and you feel like you're just not feeling it quite as well as what you did in the older trucks?
Yeah, the takeoff is like slower.
There's a delay.
There's a major delay in it.
Okay. And listen, that's huge.
And the way these transmissions are set up are as can be.
Okay, what
progressive shift transmission.
Okay,
it's progressive transmission. So when you're starting off with a loaded trailer, a lot of times it starts off in third gear.
Mm-hmm.
Then it skips up to 2 gears, and then when the surge catches up to you, then it downshifts, and then you're back to square one. Or sometimes you're at a stop sign at an incline, and it's in 5th gear.
Gotcha. So maybe if you had a suggestion for some of the engineers that are coming up with this brilliant technology, maybe they should pay more mind to the fluid dynamics that you guys deal with.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Or different programming in the computer system for the transmission.
Right. Just so it can respond to things like that rather than putting you behind the 8 ball, because I imagine that surge hitting you and then the thing downshifting, that really does slow down. Like I'm picturing you guys on like an on-ramp getting onto a really busy high speed freeway and having to deal with that in the transmission. That seems like it could be kind of frustrating.
Yeah. Very. Yeah, it can bring you to a stop.
Wow.
The surge sometimes it doesn't even know what gear it needs to be in. Yep.
So it just needs a push to talk function where you can tell it that, it sounds like. Like, God damn it, 7th.
Another 150 horsepower is what it needs. And a little bit, and a little bit more horsepower. That would probably help a lot.
Okay. And so
about 150 more horsepower.
For you guys that grew up a lot around driving the older trucks, you feel like they were generally more powerful than the newer ones?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely. Oh, yeah.
He just reminded me of when Steve Buscemi's riding the missile in Armageddon. Just want to feel the power between my legs, brother. You know, that's that's kind of what it sounds like.
Yeah. And there's a lot of guys out there that don't know what 650, 700, 750, 800, 850 horsepower in a big truck feels like.
Well, I can imagine it's exhilarating.
They don't know what it's like to run across Iowa, set the cruise at 70, and never come off of it.
Okay.
You know.
Yeah.
And I was, I mean, it's something different when you just set and go. Just it's walking and talking. The truck is doing everything it needs to do. Horsepower is everything in a truck. They're designed to pull. They're not designed to be they're not this new thing they want these trucks to be fuel economy. There are days getting 5.3 in this truck, and this thing is designed for fuel economy. Well, I used to get 4.5 in a 850 horsepower cat all day long. So, they're not getting better fuel economy realistically.
Okay. All right. Well, Yoder, that's 18 minutes worth of 3 guys giving you more ammo than you could ever need if you wanted to defend these new trucks. But I, more than anything, since we're just having a conversation here, just want to hear your thoughts about it at this point.
I like the control of the older trucks. I like the manual transmission had more control, like on ice and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You could shift it when you wanted to, or you could lug it out. And these automatics are, they do what they want to do. If you're lugging out, like going up a hill and it's slippery, they'll shift.
Right.
Unless you put it in manual, you can somewhat, but it's not the same as a old school manual transmission. But I do like the automatics in the cities, like in Chicago and even Omaha, and starting and stopping and stuff. I really like that, and I like the creature comforts, like in the sleeper and stuff. But I'll agree with everybody else as far as the electronic stuff is kind of annoying.
Do you guys genuinely think that it makes you safer out there, though? Because that's one thing about the collision detection, the adaptive cruise control, all of those advancements get made in the thought process of safety advancement, I feel like, for you guys. How are your thoughts on, and Yoder, I'll start with you. What do you think about the safety features? Does it make you safer out there, or is it more stuff that you have to pay attention to and sometimes a little distracting?
Personally, I think a lot of it is pretty distracting. As far as the alarms and the bleeps and the beeps and stuff like that. I do get where it slows you down. If you're not on ice. I mean, where it slows you down when you come up too fast on stuff. I mean, sometimes I can see where that could help you out a lot, but the buzzers and the beeps and stuff are a bit distracting as far as I'm concerned. Just my personal opinion, but
sure. Well, no, I get it, man. And that's what I think. That's the whole point of this show, is to share our opinions and just kind of flush it out a little bit. There is one thing here that's it's been in the back of my mind since Matt first started talking about it. He used a term. He said, "That's just who I am." Do you guys think that part of this is the old school trucker in you, the ones that's really yearning for the old days, the paper logs, running a little bit harder, getting stuff done, and not quite having so much aggressive oversight? Like, does that become part of your personality when you come up like that?
I'm gonna, because I've been in this game a long time, and I had a big truck. I had a large car. And one thing about it is I do miss those days, but I like the nostalgia of missing those days. I do like the electronic logbook. I really do. It's a whole lot easier. You can, running back in the old days, oh man, let me see your logbook. Well, here we go, Now it's just like, here's the logbook. Here you go. I'm not illegal. Everything's up to par. That takes that stress out of it.
Right.
You can still have the big truck, the large car, the fancy truck, but that E-log has been kind of nice. I do like the E-log. Not only that, it keeps our dispatchers honest. They can't run us any harder than what we run. And, it keeps everybody honest. That E-log was designed to keep everybody honest.
Absolutely. And you guys, the rest of you guys kind of like the E-logs too. I don't know how many of you ran back when paper logs were a thing.
I'm probably the only one.
No, I ran some paper logs, but not a whole lot.
I ran more local. We didn't go over our, what is it, Matt? 115 miles.
115 miles. 115. Yep.
115.
Yeah. 115. Yep.
It was all more local stuff.
Okay.
So I didn't run log till I got here, and it was electronic.
And we're getting further and further away from those days in trucking, right? I mean, there's less and less guys that say, like, I want to go back to paper logs. I still hear them every now and then, but they're not nearly aggressive as even just a few years ago. It feels like maybe they're that generation might be sort of aging out of the industry a little bit. Is that possible? I mean, Matt, I don't mean to offend you or anything, you old ass, but
you're not no, the truth is, I mean, the younger generation's coming in, and no offense to the younger generation, but they can fuck up a wet dream and some of these drivers, but there are some good ones that are coming into the industry, and the older ones are getting out. But that's with the industry, That's with any industry.
Yep, absolutely. I mean,
out with the old and with the new type of a thing, and you just rock and roll and do it, and you either gonna succumb to what's going on because you can't beat the system, or you get out.
No, you got to get used to it.
Yep.
Who's the youngest among you four? I know it's not Matt. Okay. And when you I'm sorry.
The youngest, Eddie. I'm the youngest.
Okay, and so when you hear Matt say something like, these new generation that can F up a wet dream, do you take any offense to that? Do you want a moment to defend yourself here? Because I feel like you're kind of, you've got to be a little bit slighted there. I mean, is your buddy sitting there telling you that your generation sucks, frankly?
Yeah, millennial, what you got?
Well, to be honest, I don't consider myself part of that.
you an old soul?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, maybe a younger generation, but I got better work ethic than most people my age.
Okay.
He ain't lying either.
All right. Well, you
Up
got the
there.
seal of approval from the elder generation, so that's good. I mean, he's not going to give it to everybody. He just proved that by by saying it. By the way, I don't think I've ever heard that that phrase used before, Matt. So, put that on a T-shirt. You might be rich, okay?
Oh, I got plenty of phrases if you want to hear them.
We'll save that for another day because yes is the answer. I do want to hear him. You can call me at night. I don't care. I would love it. Okay. All right. So it sounds like to me, there's another thing I kind of wanted to touch on that was fleeting is that the newer trucks are nicer in the city. I've always thought about those old trucks with the, you're sitting there clutching through 18 gears in the city all the time. Slow down, speed up, slow down, speed up. Did you guys just end up with like cyclist leg when you were driving the old manuals through the city? How did you cope with that? Because that sounds exhausting, and I've only done it in the Ford Focus.
Johnny, go. You start, buddy.
Come on, baby.
Well, I guess either you suck it up or you don't, because you got to make sure you got to have that fucking left leg, steady enough to keep on that clutch when you need it. Otherwise, you'll end up either up in somebody's rear end of the car or, getting yourself in a pickle and you can't get out of it.
Sure. Well, I mean, the only pickle that you'd be able to get out of with legs like that is an ass-kicking contest. I think you'd probably do really well in that if you used your left leg.
Right. Yeah. I mean, granted, if you're on the clutch for most of the time, your foot does get tired after a while. But
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Usually when you're running down the road, your left foot's just hanging out there doing nothing.
What kind of tricks did you guys figure out that you could do in the older trucks that you can't do in the new trucks? And when I say tricks, I don't mean skirting the rules or anything like that. I just mean with the mechanical control that you talked about versus kind of the digital controls. It wouldn't surprise me to hear you guys say, I always power shifted through like these gears or something along those lines. Was there anything like that you can think of off the top of your head that you really enjoyed about the older trucks that you just can't make the new ones do?
Oh, the Jake brakes, man.
Oh yeah.
The Jake brakes. The Jake brakes in these trucks is quieter than most people's Wi-Fi.
Which,
Yep.
for some of us,
Yeah, it is.
that's, I live right next to a highway, and so I can't really, I'm going to argue the other side of that. I will say, thank God for the quiet Jake brakes, because, I don't know if it's because all my lights off, but there's this one driver that just loves hitting it right outside my door at about 5 a.m. every morning. So I'm kind of partial to the quieter ones. Why don't you like the quieter ones, Matt?
Oh, it's not that I don't like them. I just love the sound of a good. It's like a Harley Davidson. You love the sound of the rumble of it.
Okay.
I mean, I think that's the toddler in every young man. Loud pickup, loud pipes. My theory was loud pipes save lives, and that's a Harley Davidson thing. But I actually do get annoyed when I sleep next to a guy that's got loud pipes now.
Yeah.
You sleep next to guys?
I didn't know
I have happened to hurt.
I didn't know the sleeper was that big, Matt.
Right? Well, it happens,
Wow.
Well, this went a whole other direction. Bert made it X-rated, buddy.
Well, I mean,
Hey,
Bert
much
made
about
it.
that.
Yeah, Bert made it X-rated, but you were talking about his pipes, so I don't know, man.
Yeah. And you're sleeping next to guys, so I mean, so you were born in a Volvo then, or conceived in one.
Oh man, my cheeks are already starting to hurt. I love it. So
Careful.
Both sides of
Careful, Marcus.
Tackle, but on the other, on this side of it, the quieter truck is nice.
Yeah.
you're telling me to be careful because I said my cheeks hurt, right?
You said cheeks.
And I was just trying to be a wholesome podcast host, just laughing and having a good time. Here I am right next to you guys in the gutter. We can all sleep in there together with our loud pipes, okay? Oh, man. Oh, love it, guys.
That's the tacos.
Bert, what about you?
Ask the bean dip. What do you want to know? What do you want to know, Matt?
Well, what do you miss?
Outside
What?
thing.
Yeah, anything.
I don't sleep next to guys.
Shit.
Matt, we're gonna have to try a few different doors before we get an answer to this question. Okay, so let's turn the words around and try again.
I completely get your thing with the Jakes, but I do love the sound of them. I'm like Matt. I like loud pipes on bikes and freaking, the big freaking like 8-inch stacks on these trucks. I like it when they roll up on me, them classics and stuff, but you can hear them like three truck lengths back coming with their stacks. They're cool as shit,
Yeah. No, I mean, it's hard to argue with. If you like big rigs, that's kind of the quintessential one, right? Everybody's thinking about the long-nosed Pete with the smokestacks, right?
Yep.
Okay.
And the ones that are actually hooked up, not the ones that are there just for looks.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see those sometimes and wonder how many miles that thing's got on it, because it doesn't look like it's been beat up like some of the trucks I've seen in my day. So I definitely get what you're saying there. It's cool to look at, but at the same time, you're like, that ain't a real truck. That thing's never pulled a trailer.
Right.
Okay, fellas. Well, listen, I feel like we made some leeway here today. We made some headway, in figuring out kind of what your thoughts are as far as new trucks versus old trucks. I think that we could probably wrap up the conversation here, but as always, want to give you guys a chance to say anything that you might want to, or share any thoughts that you didn't get out. If there's something that you'd still like to talk about, we don't have to end the conversation here. So let's go backwards from the way that we started out. Yoder, I'm going to start it with you, man. Final thoughts here on our little talk. This wasn't really much of a debate, I'll be honest with you, but it was a good primer for what might be debates in the future about hot trucking topics. Yoder, your thoughts on our conversation and anything that you want to say before we let you go.
Well, like we were talking about the electronic stuff and our ages and stuff, these young guys, young people, all they've known is electronics ever since they were little kids,
Yep.
When we grew up in the 70s and early 80s, we didn't have none of that. So we weren't brought up with it. So we're a little nostalgic,
Sure. Yeah, you'd like to feel
like the way it was.
You'd like to feel the brick of a Walkman in your pocket, right?
Exactly, yeah. Holy exactly.
Yeah, try going on a jog and making that thing skip. It ain't happening. And it's not the size of a manhole cover either. So, listen, I get that part of it.
Or a boombox up on your shoulder, know?
Yep. With some parachute pants and some Reebok pumps, man. Come on. And I'm not talking about high heels. I'm talking about the shoes you used to be able to inflate. Okay? Run faster, jump higher, right?
Right.
Well,
Good grief.
Yoder, I appreciate the time as always, man. Thank you for that, and we appreciate. We'll get you back on here to debate more in the future if you want to, but always enjoy having you on. Johnny, South Dakota, also known as John Fry. What are your final thoughts for us here on the conversation, and also anything you want to say before we let you go?
Yoder's talking about young people. I just considered myself one of the guys here because I grew up in the 80s, and all I grew up was older trucks, driving, back in the 1970s trucks and stuff where it was an actual truck compared to what these are. You don't need a lot of knowledge on how to drive an automatic.
Right. And I feel like you kind of just gave like the friendliest middle finger to Yoder that you could have, because you're like, you're still one of the guys, but also here's one of these just for saying that stuff about young people, right?
Yep.
Okay. All right.
Yeah,
Well,
I don't even consider him young.
oh, okay. So
I mean,
you just got flipped
seems
off
like
for nothing.
the rest of us.
Calm down, Yoder. You can make him a mixtape on your boombox later.
I'd say that's as good as a segue as we're going to get to Bert Morris. Bert, thank you for your time. Always a pleasure to have you here. Your final thoughts for us before we let you go.
I'm just looking forward to getting my self-driving Tesla semi and not having to do anything anymore.
Yeah,
It'll do everything for me.
there you go. Well, it would be nice to take the entire road trip from the sleeper berth. You'd get caught up on all your stories that way, right?
Oh yeah.
Well,
No,
Bert,
I'm okay with the new ones. I mean, there's a lot of things I don't like, the power and all that, but yeah, you'll never beat the old classic trucks like the Kenworth 900s and the Peterbilts.
Sure.
There's, I love seeing them on the road.
Do you do anything special when you see one? Like, do you flash the driver some leg or something like that just to see if he'll pull over and talk to you?
Side boob.
Yeah, I do got some side boob.
That's
I do
easy.
have some man titties. Ask Johnny. Johnny's seen them.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like I don't have enough time to ask Johnny about that story because I really do want to hear it, though.
Well, I mean, I flash all these guys if I see them.
Okay.
Give the old Peter, lift up my shirt, do the old Peter Griffin to him. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, if you could just kindly forget where I live, that'd be great. And
that's a long ways to drive. We're not out there that often.
all right. Well, then I'll just continue crossing my fingers that you don't get a trip out west anytime soon. Because, like I
You're
said,
safe.
I can see the highway from my window, so who knows what might come flying by in a liquid truck, right?
You're in Oregon?
No, I'm in
Oregon?
I'm in California.
Oh, well, we go there sometimes. I'll see if I can get some runs out there now.
All right. Well, Matt, don't say anything.
Listen, still.
All right. Well, Bert, thank you, man. Like I said, always a pleasure having you guys on. Matt, we're coming to you for final thoughts now. Thank you again for bringing this topic to our attention. We will get you your 50,000 Drive for Gold points for the pleasure of that. Your final thoughts.
Appreciate it. Realistically, I've gotten used to the new equipment. I don't like to live in the past. I love the nostalgia of the old truck, but it'll never be the same. If they go to a driverless truck, I'm telling you, I'm out. I will bail out. I won't even get on the highway because I don't trust engineers that much.
Sure, I get it. And I just to add a little caveat to that, I think if they go with driverless trucks, that you're all done, because that's the driverless part, right?
Yeah, the crazy thing about that is I cannot wait to see the technology where these trucks can put on PPE and hook up the acid hose and deliver to an envelope. I'm waiting. I'm excited. But then again, I also don't trust engineers with anything at all, and math kills. So,
yeah, No, I get it,
the
man.
engineers that design most of this equipment, I'm pretty sure there's a lot of them out there doing some stuff they're not supposed to.
Yeah, that's true. And they're, what they're also doing is they're not spending the time out working with the equipment as it's intended to be used so that they can figure out the shortcomings. I think that's a huge part of engineering is you're not looking at the end user experience as much as you're looking at the nuts and bolts and making sure the damn thing will run. But hey, you go on a road trip with a driver, he's going to tell you 10 different things that you could tweak a little bit and just improve the quality of life like crazy.
Like I said, the truck is good. I'm proud to work for a company that takes pride in their equipment like they do.
Mm-hmm.
For us especially, and they do genuinely care. But you can't go up against a manufacturer like Freightliner or Peterbilt and tell them anything because, well, their engineers already know everything. So we just sit back and we just run the equipment we're given.
Yeah, no, it's a good point. That's a good point for sure. Well, fellas, again, thank you for your time. We went even longer than I thought, so I really appreciate it. Again, my thanks to Wendell Yoder, John Fry, Bert Morris, and Matt Cleach. You guys are awesome. Please be safe out there, and we'll be in touch with you. We'll get another debate going, try to get something. Maybe next time we'll debate whether or not Bert actually sleeps next to guys, and we'll...
On me, man!
Deniability.
All right, fellas. Be safe out there.
With loud pipes.
You guys,
Cleach, it wasn't me.
you guys take care. We're never going to get off the phone here. I really appreciate you all. Thank you. We'll see you next time, okay?
Thanks.
All right. right, huge thanks to Matt, Wendell, Johnny, and Bert there. That was a really fun conversation. It's never a dull moment when we get those guys on the line. And it was cool to hear about their thoughts about old trucks versus new. Now, I want to put this out there for you once again. We're always looking for topic suggestions for this podcast. That doesn't mean that you have to come up with an episode where it's like you're going to decide the whole episode for us. Maybe there's just a hot trucking topic that you want to hear debated. Maybe you would like to debate about this topic. Send it to us, okay? Podcast@liquidtrucking.com, or shoot me a text message if you've got my number. Like I said, we're always looking. We're always open for suggestion. And as we continue to have some debates here on the podcast about some of these hot topics in trucking, we're going to be looking to bring on as many drivers as want to get in on the conversation. And it doesn't mean that one episode has to be the full conversation. If we're having a good conversation and we're debating things and we're trying to suss it out and figure out who's on which side and maybe who's more in the right, more in the wrong, look, that's all subjective. That's not really something we're going to get serious about. But maybe we don't finish the conversation, and maybe we don't get all the drivers on that want to be a part of that conversation. We can definitely extend these debates into subsequent episodes to make sure that we hear from everybody that wants to have a say. So really excited that we got our first one under our belt here. And I would just want to say another thanks to Matt, Wendell, Johnny, and Bert for taking part in that one. It was a lot of fun. And I will say this correctly this time. My neck hurts from laughing so much. Not going to talk about my cheeks anymore on this podcast, all right? So I told you before that interview that you needed to stick around here if you were a fan of college basketball. The podcast this year is going to be hosting our own bracket challenge. We will have a link on the website for you where you can go and basically fill out a bracket. And yes, we do have prizes for you guys, and they're not slim prizes. These are prizes that are just like, if I was doing a bracket challenge, I would be more than happy to pay for the privilege to be in this bracket challenge because of the prizes that are available. Now, good news is you're not going to have to pay. This is going to be free to anybody that wants to jump in. So drivers, get ready, because here in the next week, maybe 2 weeks, I will have a link for you to go and fill out your bracket. The prizes are wild. Imagine that there's a really sick drum roll playing in the background right now, okay? For third place in our bracket challenge, you can get an Amazon gift card for $50. For third place, $50? That's great. I love it. Second place is going to go home with a $75 Amazon gift card. And first place, this is where I really need the drum roll, but I don't have it, so I've got something else here. First place in our bracket challenge here at the podcast is going to walk home with an Amazon gift card for $125. Let's see, get the button. It's a bottle rocket. Look, I failed you guys on the sound effects this time, and I'm sorry. But that doesn't take away from how exciting it is that we're having this March Madness bracket challenge, okay? This is important. I've been a part of a lot of radio show bracket challenges in my day. I spent 10 years on live radio. We did one every single year, and we always invited everyone from the office, whether it be promotions department, salespeople, the receptionist at the front desk. It didn't matter. We always wanted everybody to be involved in it, and there's a really good reason for that. It's great for content for radio shows because nobody's ever gotten one of these right. There's not a single person in the world that has ever filled out an NCAA March Madness bracket with all 64 and now 68 teams that has ever guessed every game correctly. Now, that might not seem like too far of a stretch for you guys. That's a shitload of games. You would have to be incredibly lucky. 10 times over lottery winning lucky, right? To be able to do that. But there have been some people that have gotten close. And the reason I bring this up is because you don't have to know anything about college basketball to compete for these prizes. And one year on the radio show, we got some of the wives and girlfriends of some of the radio personalities. And these wives and girlfriends, some of them were super into college basketball, and they had a lot of knowledge. They followed it. They were big fans of a certain team. and they did really well, okay? There was other members of the Wives and Girlfriends Club from the radio show that went based only on uniforms. They looked up logos, they looked up uniforms, and they decided the games in each round based on whose uniforms they liked versus the other team. Now, probably not a winning strategy, okay? But that being said, we did have one wife/girlfriend finish in the money picking only based on uniforms. So it can happen. I think that's the fun part about March Madness brackets. You can know everything, you can know nothing, or you can know something in between those two numbers, and you still have the same back-asswards chance of actually coming out on top as everybody else, and that's what I love about it, is the randomness. So please, here in a week or so, just keep listening to the podcast, because I will tell you exactly where the link is. Basically, what we'll do is we'll set a link up on the website. You can click that. You'll sign up real quick with an email address, and then you will fill out your bracket, save it, and submit it. It's that simple. You can do it from your sleeper berth. You can do it from your easy chair. You can do it from anywhere but the driver's seat while you're rolling down the road, okay? It's very simple. It's fun. Maybe you've got a team. Maybe, I know there's a lot of Nebraska fans out there that listen to this show, a lot of Iowa fans. There's some Ohio State kids in there. It's Big Ten country, all right? And the Big Ten actually has a pretty good crop of basketball teams this year. I'm not seeing that anybody's setting themselves apart. It's like a big lump of like 8 teams that are all about the same talent-wise, which means the Big Ten could have a bunch of teams in the tournament, and maybe you just want to stick one and ride with it. I'm not going to lie to you and tell you that the year that Oregon made the Final Four, I think this is going back to probably like 2016, Oregon makes a Final Four with like North Carolina and a couple of those other real blue blood NCAA basketball teams. That year, I didn't even care. I looked at Oregon and where they were at. They were a number 1 seed. I went and I put them as the winner of the bracket, and I worked backwards from there. That's a strategy. You've got a favorite? Ride them till they buck you, man. It's always fun. Maybe you don't have a favorite and you're just going to go look at the rankings. All right, the top 25 rankings and the power rankings come out it's like every 2 days now because they play so many games. Those things are constantly changing. Go chalk. Pick the favorites all the way down the bracket. You might not get them all right, but you're definitely not going to get them all wrong. Maybe you're Mr. Underdog and you're only going to pick upsets. There is a NCAA tournament in recent memory where the Final Four was made up of all 5 seeds. You had Butler, you had Michigan State in that one. I feel like UConn was a part of that. That's what makes this so fun. Who's seeding these teams? Do we even care? Are you drunk? How is it that you have an entire tournament seeded very well and 5 seeds take up all 4 spots in the Final Four? I'm just giving you multiple examples of why this is so fun and why it should carve such a wide swath of people that can participate. I don't care if you watch a single game. Just jump in and fill out the bracket. You might get lucky and win $125, $75, or $50, okay? It's worth your time. It's worth your effort. And, if you're looking for a way to make me feel good, it makes me feel a little bit special, if you want my honest opinion, because I'll be the one that sets this up, and every one of you that go in and signs up for it will be like this one little flake of legitimacy in the work that I did that week. I will know that you guys are interacting with it and having fun and having a chance to win big money, which, by the way, I should go ahead and make this caveat right now. If, and only if, me, Marcus, the podcast host putting this whole thing on, finishes first, I'm not really sure how we're going to do that because I'm not taking any money. This money is all going to you guys. I don't want it. Even if I do win, I will take bragging rights over cold hard cash for the intents and purposes of this podcast every day of the week and twice on Sunday. So we will figure that out. I'm going to talk to Jason. My guess is if I'm in first place, which probably won't happen. This is really a giant waste of time for us even talking about this because I do not fare well in these things. If I'm going to gamble or if I'm going to have, play a game of chance, I like it to be something that I can affect, not so like poker or blackjack where I have a decision to make. This just feels like hypothetical decisions and throwing spaghetti at the wall to see what sticks. But that's kind of what's fun about it. I want you guys to know right here, right now, if I were to win this thing, I'm not taking the cash. I'm going to figure out a way. Maybe it would just be the easiest way to, if I win, if I get so lucky that I win, the first, second, and third place are just going to go to second, third, and fourth place. So maybe somebody that didn't even think they were going to finish in the money might finish in the money here, okay? We'll talk that out. I just want everybody to make sure that this isn't a harebrained way for me to make some extra money. I am going to participate. I will not be up for any of the cash prizes. So make sure you stay tuned here to the Liquid Trucking Podcast. It's the only reason that we don't have this link up there for you yet. I know that it's March when you're listening to this, but unfortunately we are recording this in February, a couple weeks before you're going to hear it, so that it can get edited and go through review and all of that stuff. So we just don't have the link up there right now as I record this. If it is March and you are listening, there's a very good chance that that link is already up on the website. So head over to liquidtrucking.com, click the link at the top of the page to get to our podcast landing page. And if you see the March Madness link, go ahead and click it, fill out your bracket, okay? It's really hard sometimes to record episodes 2 weeks in advance and know what's going to happen during that week that the episode airs. So we're kind of flying by the seat of our pants here a little bit because it's too early for me to start a bracket challenge as I record this, but it won't be by the time March rolls around. Important dates to remember here, really only one important date. Selection Sunday is March 16th. That is the date that they will seed all the teams and we'll have a complete bracket for you to go on. On March 16th, that's when you should start filling them out because you're going to know exactly who's in and who's out. Those play-in games don't really matter for the March Madness bracket tournament. They don't have you pick them, or in some cases, if they do, it might not count towards the final score. We'll figure all that stuff out. But March 16th is the date that you want to eye right now because that's when we're going to have this tournament seeded. That's when you can get your brackets in. And it's an important date because you'll only have a few days after that to get the bracket in before the games will be played. They'll start playing those play-in games probably Monday or Tuesday, maybe Tuesday, Wednesday. And then if I'm not mistaken, the first round of the tournament happens that following Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, because they got to play a lot of games. So it happens fast, okay? And the reason that we're doing such a long, drawn-out segment on this is because I wanted to hammer home all the information that you guys are going to need so that when it does turn March 16th, you guys can run over there, fill out your brackets real quick, get them in so that they're submitted, and then the fun starts. And that's also when the bragging rights start as well. I will be updating because we do one show a week, and essentially what happens with the NCAA is they'll do one round a week. Actually, that first weekend, they knock through 2 rounds. The 64 and 32 rounds are done after the first weekend, if I'm not mistaken. So we'll have 1 round a week from 16 to 8 to 4, and then the championship game. I will update the standings right here on the podcast so you can follow along with how your bracket is doing. So make sure people love to have fun with the names of their brackets. I love that. Have fun with the name of your bracket. When I read it, you will know it. If you want to put a joke in there, whatever, do me a favor and try to keep it at least like on the edge of PG-13, between PG-13 and R-rated, okay? Because it's really tough if you have a really good one, but it's not necessarily something that I can say on the podcast. I'm going to have to omit it. So keep that in mind if you're trying to have a little joke or anything like that with your entry. But March 16th is when you're going to look for that link on the website to be active and be able to go and fill out your bracket. I'm really looking forward to this with you guys. Do any of you actually think you could beat me? I know a lot of you do because you've heard me talk sports on this podcast before, but I want a little bit of competition here. So let's get as many drivers involved as you can. And, there's money on the line here. We've got $250 on the line here, okay? And you don't got to pay a cent to get a shot at it. So stay tuned to the podcast. We'll be updating you each week from here on out. That's going to wrap it up for episode 66. This was a fun one. We got to talk about a couple of new things that we're going to be introducing into the podcast in both the debate series and the March Madness Bracket Challenge. Look, I'm going to bed happy tonight. This was a good episode. Hope you guys enjoyed it as much as I do. Be safe out there. Keep the shiny side up. And until next time, you've been listening to the Liquid Trucking Podcast.
Thanks for tuning in and being the gold standard of drivers on the road. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel and tune in next week for another episode of the Liquid Trucking Podcast.